Today we will be discussing on how to use music as therapy for mental health. Now we all know music therapy is an evidence-based treatment that helps with a variety of disorders, including cardiac conditions, depression, psychological, emotional, physical, spiritual, cognitively, and socially. It can also help with memory, lower blood pressure, improve coping, reduce stress, improve self-esteem, and more. Now we have in the studio Joel Zamani, stage name Sola, a young mental health coach and a music artist who uses music as a tool to ease mental stress. Good morning and thank you so much for joining us,
Thank you for having me.
Sola.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so can you start by telling us what the relationship between mental health and music is?
Predominantly, research has shown that music has a very strong impact on mood. And we all know that just being alive, you have a mood, whether you cannot feel it or whether you know what your mood is at a particular point in time, your mood is set. And so music has the ability to regulate or control that mood. And it has put so much at stake because depending on the kind of music you are exposed to, you are also susceptible to being controlled.
Okay.
So, in what sense? You said it's susceptible to being controlled.
Yes. The entertainment industry, just like any other industry, I would like to compare it to, say, the advertisement industry. It works on psychology.
Okay.
And let's say, do you know of any industry that doesn't make use of music? Talk about football, talk about advertisement, talk about the TV and movies, talk about practically anything. They know that the place of music cannot be overemphasized. Depending on what they want you to feel or how they want you to act based on mood, they have understood that they can create or find already created music that can nudge you in that direction.
Okay, so they can control the emotions through the kind of music that they play.
Exactly.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so what about, because while we're introducing you, it actually talked about you using your music, you
Yes.
know, and also being a mental health coach.
Yes.
How do you balance it, you know, how do you go about it?
Okay, I first of all started out as just an artist. I mean,
Okay.
the average Nigerian artist, or let's just say global artist, would want some form of a recognition, you know, to blow, to make it to the big screen and all of that. But over time, I discovered that I wasn't just an average artist. And this is not to sound cliche, but studying myself, I discovered that I was more interested in helping people to be their true selves and to be their best selves, right? And I also did a study of my own kind of music, and then I did a study in comparison to others, and there was just a difference. Now, I'm not talking about how good I am or how good others are. I'm talking about the content of my music, the source of my music, the objectives of my music, and all of that surrounded the fact that mental health is a real thing. And I didn't just want to leave it at just the music level, because I know that a lot of people are out there who have so much going on. Many can't even pay for therapy. Many cannot pay for sessions with psychologists, and many will not want to admit that they have issues because of the stigma associated with it. So I decided that since this is what I'm interested in, since this is what I am good at, rather than follow the crowd and just do anything with my music, why not channel my energy into helping the masses and helping people.
All right, let's move slightly away from the music thing. You made mention of something that actually resonated with me, and I actually want to know. I want to double down on that. You made mention of two things. You mention of a person's true self,
Yeah.
and then a person's best self. We always have this. We're always told, be yourself. You need to be yourself in whatever situation. What if your true self is not your best self? What happens in that kind of situation?
That is an actual fact, and it's the truth for many people. Your true self, in most cases, won't be your best self, because take, for example, getting up this morning. It was quite cold, and I would have just wanted to just turn to the other side, and, you know, that could be seen as laziness or something.
Okay.
And that could be my true self. But your true self is not always fixed. You could always improve on your true self to become your best self. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, but what determines what's the best self? What's the true self? Oh, well, okay, what determines what's the best self right now? Okay, because true self is just true self. This is who I am.
This is just who I am.
Exactly.
Yes.
You understand? But what determines what's the best self? Is it society? Is it you yourself? Is it the people around you? What determines that? Because I think if you are trying to be a version that other people want to see, then that means you're not being true to yourself.
Exactly.
And you're doing yourself a disservice. So how do you balance that?
I think that as a human being, we all have a sense of what's good and what's not, irrespective of what your true self might be, or what your best self, or what you think your best self should be. I will not deny that society has done us a lot of disservice in trying to determine what your best self should be.
Okay.
So I would say your best self is determined by a number of factors, not just you, because no human being has the totality of knowledge. And what you might think is good, in actuality might not be good, especially since you're living in a societal context. So you have to put into consideration your beliefs, societal beliefs, spiritual beliefs, and environmental beliefs. Just couple them all together and do some sieving. And what resonates with you most is most likely your best self.
Okay, now you actually talked about, your kind of music, the music you use to, help people with mental health issues being different from the regular music. What makes it different? What kind of music is it?
When talking about my kind of music, it's not even really dependent on genre, whether it's R&B or Afro or gospel or whatever it could be. It's more about, like I said before earlier, touching some parts of your emotions, controlling your emotions. My music is one that gets you thinking. You sit down, listen to my music, 1, 2, or 3 of them, and
Sorry, do you sing or is it just instrumentals?
I sing and I produce.
What do you sing about?
Okay, I sing about, my core message is self-love.
Okay.
Self-love and self-improvement and development. And anything I sing about is usually wrapped around this. So I could talk about societal issues, but eventually I would find a way to boil down to what's happening to the individual, not just the society in general, because society is broad. The individual is the prime concern. It's an individual that makes up, or let's say a group of individuals that make up the family, and the family makes up the society. And that's my focal point. Bringing the message to something that the individual can easily relate to, understand, feel, and then to nudge your thought process into taking the right choices and maybe moving into the right direction.
Okay, so you've been doing this for how long? Using your music.
My music, okay, that's about 3 years now.
Okay, so what about, tell us about the success rate. How has that helped, your patients?
I have had a lot of testimonies and testimonials and stories, and there's just so much you get involved in when you get to, especially if you're the type that likes feedback. People tell you about, I listen to your music before I sleep. Many people have insomnia. It's a real issue, and they say it helps me sleep. So that is a success for me, even though maybe I originally didn't plan for you to feel sleepy, but the fact that you can sleep because you listen to me, that's an achievement. In what do you call it, production, we have what we call byproducts, and so byproducts are things that you didn't plan for, but are possible they are of possible benefit to maybe the user or to someone else. And so if sleep wasn't the target's reaction, but it came out of it, that's my music, then it's a byproduct, which I'm happy about. Also, I've had testimonies about people saying they didn't have someone to talk to. They didn't feel like someone understood how they felt. And most of the time, it's either they didn't know who to talk to, or they spoke to the wrong people who invalidated their feelings and emotions. And just hearing your song out there, it's like, okay, someone out there knows my pain, understands, and it helps them move on,
Okay, so who are your clients? Are they old? Are they young?
Okay.
What's the demography?
The demography is predominantly between the ages of 16 and 30.
Oh,
That's young people.
Yeah, young people, youth.
So a lot of young people are actually going through lots of mental issues.
A lot.
Really?
But you would never know, because nobody really talks about it.
All right, now let's go back to music and mental health. Now, can you tell how who a person truly is, or how a person truly, what a person's true self actually is by the type of music that he listens to?
Well, studies show that you can, but I'd beg to differ, because there are many people who are introverted.
Okay.
But the kind of music they listen to is quite loud and is on the upbeat side of music, talking about music from artists like Davido, and all the likes, those who have the fast kind of beats songs, and they enjoy them. But it doesn't mean that they are extroverted. They are in actuality introverted, and they might be listening to such songs because they just want to feel good, because music provides that kind of service. They just want to feel good. Many introverts, many, not all, they feel alone. But having something that gives them that pleasure makes them forget their loneliness. So you can't really say that, okay, because an introvert is listening to this kind of songs, then he's this particular way, or because I've seen many extroverts who listen to classical music or jazz or blues, and I wonder, how did this guy arrive at this kind of playlist? So you can't really say that because the person listens to this kind of songs or genre.
And there are people that are actually all over the place. I mean, like
Exactly.
he listens to heavy metal, tomorrow he listens to something else. I mean, so that's
Depending on the mood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, depending on the mood.
So that's
and
the thing.
moods differ. You know, we don't just have one mood. We don't just have two of them. We have many that we can't
A
even.
lot.
You know.
Okay, so are there negative, results or impacts to music therapy?
Well, yes, but the positive outweigh the negative. Actually, there are many people who could suffer from, say, dissociation or attention deficits because they just want to clear their minds. They just want to be at peace or have that zen. And so rather than network or associate with people, they just seclude themselves and they just want to be in their space, listening to music all day long and all of that. There are also those who just stay plugged in and music as much as possible all day, every day, and the ears actually don't like such pressure, there are a number of them, but the benefits outweigh the disadvantages.
All right, now, so talking about your music specifically, all right, the message in your music, what the thing that actually does the mental thing, is it embedded in the lyrics, or is it the sound itself, or is it a combination of both?
It's a combination of both.
I see.
Yes, I pay close attention to my lyrics.
Okay.
Because I believe that in as much as there are those who pay attention to the symphony and the melody, there are also those who need the message. I do coaching, which implies words, use of words, and that's what I know how to do best. So why not harness that power, put it into my musicality, craft my words in a way that it will touch someone and get them thinking, get their healing process started.
Well, when you talk about when we talked about the demography of your clients, I mean, like between 16 and 30, most of people within that particular, they don't care about the lyrics of a song. They just want to hear something pounding somewhere. And that's that.
In a way, you are right, because that's kind of, would I say, the challenge that I have, because you might not hear much about me, and that's because I'm not serving the populace.
Okay.
I'm not doing what everybody wants. Many people are not really interested in therapy or in going through the whole room experience of talking and sharing their feelings. Many people just want to party it out. Many people just want to eat it out.
Okay.
Many people want to distract themselves. And I'm at peace with that.
Okay.
I recognize that I cannot serve everybody, but as long as there are people who appreciate art, to be specific, art, you'd find that most of those people are the ones that enjoy my music. I have been in environments where people don't even want to listen to music. It's just poetry, words. What are they gaining from it, if you ask? There's no music, there's no symphony, there's no dance, there's no drama. It's the words. So people, young people, not even the elderly, are interested in words. They just want someone that would encourage them, someone that would let them know you're not alone, someone that would let them know that, hey, you're going the wrong way, take a U-turn. And there are people, there are.
Okay, I just want us to, do a little bit of exercise right now, because if you look at it, some people actually have a bad memory when it comes to some certain type of music and all that. And that was why I asked earlier if it has a negative impact, because instead of, that healing process, it ends up triggering the person. So to say I were your client, you know, what's the process? What process do you actually have to go through to be able to use your music to, you know, at least
Yeah.
start the process
Start
of
the
healing?
process. Well, to start with, I would have to recognize that I might not have that particular type of music out yet. You know, you might get into talking with a person, and what the person is going through isn't something you have either experienced or done enough research on. And so your music, your current catalog of songs might not have covered that kind of situation. So you'd have to recognize that you have to look for an alternative, someone who has done it, you know, and then screen the song for yourself, match it to his or her problem, and okay, because beats matter, like you were trying to ask, beats matter, the lyrics matter, you know, and the message matters. So I would have to go through this process before making recommendations. Also, not all situations require music. Some can easily be listened out. By that, I mean, I don't even have to do much talking, just listen. Sometimes I would drop a word or two, and some of the times I would have to make recommendations, whether from my catalog or from someone else's.
So you prescribe music?
Exactly.
Okay, now to avoid the negative effects of music therapy, doesn't one need a license to be able to do that?
Yes, it's better that way.
To have a license.
To have a license. However, like I mentioned earlier, not many people are interested in patronizing the professionals for various reasons. It could be financial, it could be to avoid stigma. Many people still lie to themselves. I don't have a problem, but you know you're suffering from something, you know. So rather than take the therapist approach, I prefer to take the friendship approach. Everybody wants a friend, I mean. So when you don't feel like you're being doctored, you're more open to help and maybe even suggestions. And this is not to say that getting a license should be outruled, but even those of us who are taking this as a social service, you know, it's important for us to screen ourselves, because you can't give what you don't have. There are many things that you would have to talk about that if you haven't experienced or practiced, you cannot give the right advice or help. And so I do not believe that I know it all. If a situation comes that this is beyond me or beyond what I've experienced so far, I do not have any problem with making recommendations. In fact, that's the next step for me. Meet a professional, meet someone who would guide you through the steps rather, and the process of your healing. Mine is just the basic, the startup, the first points. We call what they call them in medical, frontliners. Yeah. So I see myself as a frontliner, and once my part of the job is done, and it gets beyond me, to the next phase.
All right. So let's talk about you now personally. You deal with a lot of things. You deal with a lot of clients. You hear lots of issues and all that. That's got to take a toll on your own mental health. So how do you decompress? Do you see another therapist to go and unload that?
Well, I believe in the saying that every therapist needs a therapist, you know. So what I do is I haven't had a need to visit a therapist.
Okay.
My dad is a psychologist.
I see.
Yes. I'm not trying to say I'm using his license for anything, but
Yeah.
I have, because of his work and the exposure that I had since childhood, I have this form of emotional intelligence and touch with myself. And so once I'm reaching my threshold, I know when to pull back. Once I am getting exhausted, I know when to pull back. When I am not okay, I know how to tell myself, bro, you're not okay, and you need help. If it's by discussion, of course, with my dad, he's my personal therapist, of course. So if that's by discussion, I get that done. If it's by hanging out, I get that done. If it's by making music, because for me, making music is a form of therapy. And if it's by doing that, I do that and I get better. So these are the things that I do. I also engage in discussions with friends from time to time. Of course, not everybody would have answers to what you are going through, but just the fact that you have someone that listens, it makes you feel like, okay, I have unloaded, and that alone does so much for you.
Okay, now from everything you've actually said, you know, music therapy is underutilized in Nigeria. Now, what can actually be done to get the government to, you know, understand the importance of music therapy, especially in psychiatric hospitals?
First of all, I would say that interests in particularly psychiatric hospitals has to be emphasized before the musical aspect, because you can't just bring, okay, let me use this analogy. You cannot talk about sugar when you haven't talked about the whole cake. I don't know if it makes sense. That's to say that if the whole cake is the psychiatry aspect of things, and the interest is not in that, or efforts are not being made to, you know, build structures, to make facilities available. When you talk about the sugar, which is the musical aspects, it will not make any sense. So we have to start from the interest of the government in that industry. Now, once that has been achieved, I believe that the professionals know their job. You know, they know their job, and it cannot be overemphasized. It cannot be outrolled. Music therapy is a thing that has proven, and it has proven to be of great benefit to healing processes, both of mentally troubled individuals and even those of us who are not incarcerated. To craft out maybe a particular kind of music might not be best, because every individual is unique. So it will be best to have, say, the professionals study their patients and make them, or rather subject them to the therapy as, what's the word to use now, as they deem fit. Also, the government can sponsor people in this department. You know, many of our professionals are more into the medicine administration aspect, or the talking aspect of therapy, but the government can also, with recognition of the importance of this, can also sponsor professionals in this. Also, they can create grants, probably even scholarships for young artists like myself and those coming behind. You know, come up with campaigns. We have ministers and a minister for entertainment, we have commissions and all of that. They can come up with competitions to just make sure that societal and mental health conscious music is promoted. You know, Nigerian music is going places currently, but if the government is intentional about propagating and in what's the word? Basically propagating societal conscious music and mental health conscious music, I believe that it would work.
Well, let's talk about, before we go, let's talk about therapy in general. Now, as individuals, it's easy for us to point fingers and say government needs to do this, government needs to do that. But as individuals and as a professional yourself, how can we be able to create enough awareness for people to really understand that you need to take care of your mental health, so that we can avoid situations whereby you'll see people committing suicide, going into chronic depression, you know, acting out and the rest of it? How can we be able to do that?
First of all, I would say your mental health is your business or your responsibility, so that it doesn't sound so harsh. It's your responsibility. You cannot say that because the things are not going well around you, you just go with the tides and all of that. You have a responsibility to keep yourself in check. I know that what goes on around us has a very strong impact on our mental health, but that's where self-improvement, self-development, and self-worth, you know, there's so many self-concepts that come into play. You know, many people in society do not have these things in place or in check, and that's why you hear people say the family is not balanced, and so this is why he's like this. The country is like this, and so this is why he's like this. Yes, the society has a way of shaping your mental health, but you have the final say. Whatever you decide to take in, especially consciously, is what will stay. It's what will stick. It's what will influence your mental health. And whatever you decide to take in subconsciously, talking about music now, because a lot of what we experience is as a result of things that we've ingested in the sense of we've heard, we've seen. You know, they are things that have an impact on you. And so if you don't have a problem with listening to just anything or seeing just anything, then you would most likely have mental health problems. But if you have a concern on and you are intentional about what you view, what you hear, what you expose yourself to, it helps you to be in charge of your mental health subconsciously and consciously.
All right, well, that was quite an interesting discussion. Thank you so much, Joel Zamani, aka Sola, for joining us on Daybreak. But before we actually go, Sola, you talked about the stress on the soul.
Yes.
What does it mean? Like soul, S-O-U-L?
S-O-U-L.
Okay.
Yes, then A-R.
Okay. What's the idea behind Sola?
Okay, so the name is a compound name coined by myself. Okay. Basically, I thought about my music. Like I said, I'm intentional about what I do with my music and my artistry. I defined my music as being something that's more than just the ears, you know, it touches the soul.
Okay.
So the AR is actually cut out of solar, as in the sun.
Okay.
We all know that the sun is a source of power, energy, and light.
Okay.
So fusing these two together, it means light to the soul, energy to the soul.
Oh, fantastic then. All right, thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak Extra once again.
Thank you for having me.